Alright guys, this is our video about solving problems with percents. I keep getting delayed here during vacation, and it is vacation. I know we shouldn't be doing work, but you know, it is what it is. Such is life. So we're going to work on solving some problems with percents. I liked both of these. I thought these were funny. You can ask Mr. Carly about this guy. He's one of his favorite characters from television. And then, of course, this is great. I'll let you read it. And I hope you enjoyed both goofy memes, jokes for today. Let's get right into what our methods are for our percent problems we're going to do. There's 4 basic methods that I like to teach with percents, okay? And you can choose what works. Some of them you're going to want to use in some situations and others, and so on. So you have the percent proportion. And we looked at proportions in the most recent video, so we should be a little bit more comfortable with what a proportion is. The percent equation, which is related to the percent proportion. I'm actually going to show you how we can change one to the other. The 10% trick. Some of you may already know what I'm talking about that with finding 10% at a time of a base number. And then the total with tax trick. And these are all things I'm going to show you in this particular video. Just a quick addendum. I'm going to show you the total with tax trick in a different video. Changed my mind when I got that far along. So just a quick addendum there. Continuing on. Start with the percent proportion. The percent proportion, of course, a proportion has the 2 ratios set equal to each other. That defines what a proportion is. And we're still going to solve it by cross-multiplying. So there's 4 things here. There's the percentage, the base amount, the percent, and the number 100. And that number 100 will always stay a 100 in the percent proportion. The base amount here, that's the amount that is the 100%. So when you talk about the base amount, so that could be like the total amount of a bill, and you're finding the tip, which is a percentage of the whole amount. Or it could be, for the base amount, it could be the original price of an item, and then the percentage is the amount that you take off of that original price with a discount. So the percentage is the part you're finding of that base amount. So if we said 20% off, 20 would be the percent, and the amount of money you save, that would be the percentage. All right, and you can use the percent proportion for any percent problem. We're going to do 3. And let's color code them, shall we? So let me get my writing tool ready with the right settings here. We'll do the first one in purple. So find 20% of 75. Well, again, we got 4 parts with a proportion. So I'm just going to use this space over here. I know the 100. I see the part where it says 20%, so I know 20 is my percent. And of 75, we're finding a percent of this number 75. That makes 75 the base amount. And the amount that we're finding, that's the percentage. So you cross-multiply and solve with a proportion. And just because I'm always afraid I'm going to make a mistake in a video, and I could do the math without it, I'm still going to go ahead and use my calculator here. So with the purple one here, we end up with cross-multiplying 100 times x, so 100x. And 75 times 20, which is 1,500. So that's a 0, not a 6 there. So when we divide by 100, that's actually really easy to do here. It just cancels out 2 zeros. We get 15. So what is 20% of 75? Well, the answer to that question is the number 15. Now, it's not a percent, our answer. So we're not finding a percent. We found this percentage out of the whole thing, the base amount, the 75. So what is 20% of 75? It's 15. All right, next one. 15 is what percent of 50? Again, we're going to use the same thing, the percent proportion. I'll do this one in red. And again, we're going to set up our proportions. So let me go ahead and start. I know that's a 100 there. 15 is what percent? I don't know the percent, so that's where my x is going to go. 15 is what percent of the 50? Of 50. So again, that of in front of 50, that's what tells me that's the base amount. If you look back, we had the same thing here of 75. That's what told me that 75 was the base amount. When we say base amount, remember that's that value that is equal to 100% of whatever it is we're talking about. So we'll cross multiply and solve this one. 50 times x is 50x. 15 times 100 is, again, 1500. We divide both sides here by 50. And that's going to go in 30 times. And so our answer is 30, except this time our answer is a percent because we were finding a percent. So what is 15 is what percent of 30? Well, it's 30%. So if you were buying something that cost $50 and you saved $15, you got 30% off. All right, one more. We'll use green. 30 is 40% of what number? Start again, same way. The 100 always goes in that same spot, so there's no thinking required for that part. 40%, that goes in our percent spot. 30 is the 40%. 30 is the percentage. And what we're finding of what number? We're finding the base amount. Cross multiply. 40 times x is 40x. 30 times 100 is 3,000. Divide both sides by 40. And we're going to get 750, I think. Let's double check with a calculator so I don't mess up. Oh, I was wrong. I was totes wrong. It's just 75, silly, not 750. Now look, had I gotten 750, I should have known very quickly something is really wrong. Because 30 is 40% of what number? 40% is almost half. 30 is definitely not almost half of 750. So can I make just that 750 go away? No, I can't. Sorry, kind of messed that up. It's the only thing we have left is the lingering cough from this awful flu. But 75 is that base amount there. All right, that's the percent proportion. That took a while. That was a full 5 minutes of our video. So let's move on to the percent equation. So we take the percent proportion, you take the percent side and you divide it. So the percent divided by 100 gives you a decimal, and that is known as the rate. The rate is the percent as a decimal. If I then rearrange, instead of having percentage over base amount, if I multiply that base amount on the other side, the percentage is equal to the rate times the base amount. So in other words, the rate is the decimal version of the percent. When you multiply the decimal version of the percent times that base amount, you get the percentage. So let's try some with the percent equation. So if you multiply the percent as a decimal by the base amount, you find the percentage. So this is great for finding tip, tax, and discount on a base amount, but it can work for any percent problem. So we're going to do 3 similar percent problems to the ones we just did with the proportion. What is 15% of 75? So that's the first one. All right, so we have the percent, that's 15%. We're going to change that to a decimal. And that is what we call the rate. And we multiply that by the base amount. It says of 75. So that's our base amount. And that's it. That's finding 15% of 75. So what we do is we're multiplying them together. And 0.15 times 75. Yeah, I know I'm cheating with a calculator again, but I don't want to make a mistake in the video and not recognize it. Is 1125. So 11.25 is 15% of 75, excuse me. Next question, 12 is what percent of 30? 12 is what percent of 30? Well, the 12 would be the percentage because 12 is. We won't know the percent. So we could put an X there, or we can put an R there. If you notice, I used P over here for percentage. It really doesn't matter what variable you use. And then our base amount is that number 30. Now this is X times 30. That's the same thing as saying 30X. So 30X equals 12. Well, it should absolutely make sense that we're getting a decimal here, guys, because X, remember, is we're finding the rate, which is the percent, as a decimal. So we are supposed to get a decimal here. So 12 over 30 comes out to a nice 0.4. And that means that if we then change that decimal to a percent, 40%. 12 is what percent of 30? It's 40% of 30, almost half, which should make sense, almost half. All right, and the last one, 9 is 30% of what number? So again, gotta change colors. Blue. 9 is my percentage, so that's going to go on the left-hand side. 30%, 0.30 is the decimal version for the rate of what number? Well, we don't know the base amount, so I'm going to put an X there. And I don't need a time sign or anything because the X came after the 0.30. So 9 divided by 0.30, and that should give us our base amount. So 9 divided by 3/10. So it'd be like 90 over 3. I think that's 30. 9 divided by 0.3, 30. So 9 is 30% of what number? 9 is 30% of 30. So we have our 3 answers, 30 and 40% and 11.25. All right, two more things for us to look at here. Let's go on. The 10% trick. You can find 10% easily by moving the decimal point on the base one place to the left. This is super useful when your percent is a multiple of 5 or 10. The 10% trick is super useful for that. So let's pretend we have a $90 restaurant check. So we must have gone out with a whole bunch of people to eat. Hopefully we're not paying that all by ourselves. But say that we want to look at our options here of a 15, 20, 25, and 30% tip. I tend never to tip less than like 25%, but that's because I was a server at one point and I feel bad for the folks that do that job. It's not always easy. All right, so we're going to take that whole amount, 90. In order to find 10%, we're going to take the decimal point and move it once to the left. So 10% of 90 is 9. I can now find all these different other amounts. 15% of 90 would be that 10% plus half more. Well, what's half of 9? That's 4.5. Oh, that looks like a Z instead of an equal sign. Hold on. Equals. So we can add the 9 and the 4.5 together, and we get 13.5. So like $13.50, if you will, if we're talking about a tip. What about 20%? Well, if 10% of 90 is 9, then 20% of 90 would be 18 because we doubled the 10%. 25% of 90. Now, I know we can think of other ways to find that, and I know there's someone out there going, well, that's 1/4. I could just divide by 4. Sure you can, but I can also use this 10% trick. If I now have 20% is 18, and I know that 5% I found earlier was 4.5, I can add that, that's 22.5. So that would be 22.5 or $22.50. I know I'm kind of running out of space here. And then 30% of 90, that's easy. If 10% is 9, then 30% would be 27. Okay, which would be a massive tip, by the way. 30% on a $90 check. So that's the 10% trick. One last trick, and I do call them tricks because they kind of are. Rather than one more trick, I decided to move that trick to a different video, and which I went back and added in a previous slide. Super confusing, I know, very Doctor Who-ish, or kind of like Harry Potter and the Time Turner, but it's really not. You just go back to a different slide and re-record the end of the slide. Anyway, percent applications we're going to work with in class real quick. This is our last little bit in this video. Tax, and when we talk about that, we're talking mostly about sales tax, which in Virginia on non-food items is 6%. Well, in our part of Virginia, it's 5.5% in other localities. And on food, a tax that I heartily do not agree with, a tax on food, for political reasons, which I won't get into. But anyway, sales tax, non-food 6%, food 2.5%. Tips, we tip generally in a restaurant. You might tip a hairdresser when you get your hair done, when you get your hair did. You might tip a cab driver. You know, if you live in a city, you get a great deal more experience with tipping than you do like a big city, like a New York or Chicago kind of city. Valets, stuff like that. Discount, that's when something is on sale. 20% off or something along those lines. Or when you get a discount, like I get a discount at the toy store of 20% off. Or interest, that's something that you earn on a savings account. Or something you pay on a bill. On a bill balance, like a credit card balance or something like that. All right, so these are all applications we're going to look at in class. With the tax, you add the tax on to what you pay. With the tip, you add that on to what you pay. With a discount, you subtract it. And with interest, you may or may not add it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And we'll be talking a great deal more about percent applications in class. So be ready to use that proportion, that equation, and that good old 10% trick. See you in class.